Hello, everyone. Welcome to the broadcast for this evening. It is Sunday, March 2nd, our first Sunday in the month of March, and I hope you're doing fantastic today. Great to be here with you. How was everyone's weekend? Star Helix, it is nice to see you here. How are you doing today? It is very, very cold. I'm very, very cold, so hopefully this is going to warm me up quite a bit. It's just been extremely cold here. Freezing. My hands are like ice. My hands are like frostbitten. But I hope everyone had a great weekend. I had a pretty good weekend myself. Lots of things done, lots of fun, exciting stuff. So I hope yours was as well. We got the mice coming in here. Let's make sure that we get the mice. There we go. We recently celebrated his birthday. He turned 10 on Thursday. This fat mouse is 10 years old now. That's right. And by 10, that is in human years. In rat years, it is 1 million plus. That's right. That's right. It's warming up here. I've had to turn the heating off. Oh no, not here. Yesterday was a bit warm, but today it's back to freezing. Like I can't feel my hands, covered up under the blanket, just freezing cold. I have my foot warmers on because my feet were like frostbitten. So yeah, just very, very cold, very, very cold. Unfortunately, I have a whole another month to wait. Once it hits April, then I know things are going to start getting warmer. And I'm going to like that. I really am. I'm going to like this warmer weather. And then it gets hot, and then it's I would tolerate the hot more than the cold, to be honest. I mean, it still kind of is a bit rough, but I'd rather tolerate the extreme heat than the extreme cold. That's just how I am. That's just how I am. Uh, so good. Hopefully you had a nice weekend. Sorry, Alex, and a great past week. See, I say that every year with both extremes. Yeah. hmm It really does depend on where you live, because some areas they don't really get extreme cold or they don't really get extreme heat. It really all depends. But I would say a fair amount of places that most people live, they have a diversity of seasons that they experience. They experience, high heat, high cold. So, and I would say this year in particular, it was colder. It seemed colder than it had been. So, yeah. We get extreme cold in winter and extreme humidity in the summer. Yeah, that's pretty much about the same. Yeah. Just how it is. Just how it is. Extreme cold, extreme heat, all that sort of stuff. You just gotta learn to deal with it, You really do. I become more sensitive to the cold as I get older, I guess. I don't remember ever really being this bad, but now it's just like it's so bad. It's so terrible. I'm just so sensitive to it. It's crazy. Just get extremely cold all the time. Oh well, it's what it is. It's what it is. Hmm. So yeah, March is here. April will be coming up soon. We have Easter coming up, which is relatively late. So I know like usually around Easter time it's like, yes, finally the weather's warmer. Depending on when Easter is, obviously. If Easter's in, March, then not necessarily warmer, but hmm? We have an Easter costume for him. That's right. That's right. Hmm. Sammy, great to have you here. How are you doing today? Let's say, think how you'll be when you're 80. I'll mark my calendar by the way. Okay, yeah. You've marked your calendar. You've marked your calendar. Watch me when I'm 80. I will still be here making videos and everything, still be talking. It's like, I've been following you. I've been following you for 60 years. And it's like I don't know if YouTube will even still be around back then. I mean, 80 years, well, 60, I guess no, it'll be let's see, I guess it'll be like 50 years from now. A little less, but 45 years from now, when I'm 80 years old, will YouTube even be around? I don't know. That's the thing. We'll all be plugged into the virtual reality stuff that, hey, you know what? We already could already be plugged into the virtual reality stuff. That's kind of an idea that I've thought about quite a bit. We're just living in this virtual reality right now, and we are not even aware of it. We're not even aware of it. So, yeah, interesting. This is not our real life. Our real life is outside of that. Yeah. It says, hey there, AA. Um why you wearing elfin decoration tonight? Yeah, I just like it. So that's what I'm wearing today. That's what I'm wearing. Looks good to me. Looks good. Let's see, plugged into the Neuralink. Ah, yep. You're absolutely right. Not bad, and you. Great. I'm glad that you're doing well. I'm doing pretty good myself. I'm doing pretty good. Let's see, I just left Danny's Crime 1111 live and joined you straight away. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm not sure who that is. I have to look them up and see. I'm not familiar with that particular individual. Let's see if I can find some. Maybe I'll check that out later. No, nothing that comes up for me. Yeah, I have no idea what you're watching. Nothing shows up in search results for me. But regardless, great to have you all here. So the topic that we're going to be talking about today: fearful. Are you afraid of things that are happening in the world? Things that are going to that you may have heard about that may end up happening. If you have fear, if you're afraid of something, if you're worried about something even, what can you do to get better control over that and be prepared instead of panicking in fear about what may or may not happen and not actually you're overlooking something? That's the main thing that we're discussing today. So, as a continuation, Friday's topic and everything about fearful, but you're being prepared about it. What can you do? Well, I'm sure at one point or another we've all been afraid of something that's going on in our life, some sort of major event that is happening, and we are very, very afraid of that. And when we are in a state of fear and worry, what ends up happening? We end up becoming paralyzed. We're not able to rationally think about whatever the outcome is going to be. We're in a much more panic state that we cannot prepare accordingly. We're not able to think appropriately. Instead, we think from a very fearful type of mindset where everything is going to be out to get us. And paranoia could end up coming in, and we could end up feeling very, very bad about the situation and not optimistic whatsoever. Fight or flight, that is a good way of thinking about it as well. Yeah. So instead of rationalizing it, instead of thinking about it in a rational way, we are in this fear mindset where everything is so scary. Everything is fearful for us. And as a result, we're not able to logically think. Fear paralyzes you in a way that you may not even be aware of it. So how does one become fearful? What sort of things could make them afraid? Well, a lot of time it is whatever they are consuming in the world around them, whether it be that they're scrolling through social media and they're seeing like news things about the world is ending, or other types of crazy stuff of what some politician is doing or whatever else is happening in the world, wars breaking out, all this other stuff that puts people into a state of fear. Okay, like if we think about all the events that have happened over the past few years, it's absolutely crazy. But I guess one, when we really think about it, if we go back to, 2020 even, it's like toilet paper shortage. Everyone is afraid, so they rush out to get all this toilet paper. And it's like, do you need all that toilet paper? What are you eating that you need copious amounts of toilet paper? You just think about that. So it's that type of fear mindset that people have. They hear something, they believe something, so then they become very paralyzed by fear, and they must do whatever it is that they can in order to remedy that fear. How can they remedy the fear? Well, they have to have some sort of preparedness. They want to be prepared to some degree. However, the fear puts them in a very, shall we say, unstable place. It puts them in a place where they're not able to logically think correctly. And instead of actually having appropriate solutions and being prepared ahead of time in a calm, rational manner, people are out rushing around, fighting each other over toilet paper and everything. Okay? Now, I don't think you see that sort of stuff anymore. I would hope not. Although there may be a new thing, like people fighting over eggs now, Maybe that's like the new thing, people fighting over eggs. Like the last carton of eggs, it's like $20. I must get it. It's like, okay. There you go. Fighting over the last piece of eggs, and then all the eggs shatter and break. Egg fight at the grocery store for $20 eggs. Ryan, it is great to have you here. How are you doing? Hopefully you're doing fantastic. Let's see. I turn off the see enough. I mean CNN. Yeah, see enough. You've seen enough. You turn it off. Turn off the news. Yeah, that does tend to be one of the major sources of people's fear and paranoia. That they watch a lot of whatever's on the news and they believe things about whatever is going on there. Not to say that, a lot of it is not necessarily true or that it's exaggerated. There could be some level of truth to some of the stuff, but for the most part, when you really look at it and think about it, a lot of it is very fear-based. It's to make people very afraid. And what's the reason for that? It's because when you're afraid, you comply easier. So it's much easier to control and manipulate other people by having them be afraid of something. He's like, you must be afraid of this and follow these guidelines and rules in order to remedy that fear. So that's why a lot of people cannot logically think correctly. They're in a state of fear, so then they end up making all of these horrible decisions that are not based in any sort of logic whatsoever. I just think about also the other example being, you go into a restaurant, like this is, back in 2020 and everything, you go into a restaurant, you have to wear a mask, but then when you sit down, you can take it off when you're eating and everything. It's like, that doesn't make any sort of sense. But when people are in that fear mindset, it doesn't have to make any sort of sense. They will just do whatever it is because to them, it's the fear that is paralyzing them to actually think for themselves. So that is where a lot of people's fear tends to come from. There's always these external sources, usually from news sites and media, social media even. It could be people that they follow that are, saying all of these crazy things and everything. So it's just all about realizing what that fear is. What is the fear? What's making you afraid? I'd like to say hello to Heathen Granny. You now have pentagrams in the beginning and end of your name, and Heathen Granny trademark with pentagrams on both sides. I like it. Eclection, great to have you here. How are you doing? Hopefully you're doing fantastic. Okay, let me read over some more of your comments here. So let's say, Sammy says the airplane crashed with the ice skaters. I bet they were terrified and panicked when they But falling into the river, oh gosh, see, that's like another major thing right there. It's like you hear all these things about all these airlines and the issues with them crashing, falling, all that sort of stuff. And then we have to think about, okay, if you're hearing a lot about this, that's to put people into a state of fear. And what would be the reason for that? Well, it's so people don't fly anymore. It's like, okay, well, what's the reason for people not flying anymore? And of course, we can drill down deeper into that rabbit hole, although I don't think you two will really like me going further and further down as to why that could possibly be. I'll let you use your best judgment on that one. But it is very, very interesting. It's like a lot of these fear tactics of what's going to happen. It's like, oh my gosh, I must never fly again because of that happening. It's interesting. It's interesting how all that it just things are very coincidental with certain things, and it's like the fear that comes up from it. You have to be very mindful of the fear. Is the fear controlling your actions? Is the fear making you paralyzed? Is the fear making you do things that you wouldn't normally do in a sane, coherent frame of mind? If so, then you have to really think about, why am I letting this fear control my actions? Why am I letting this fear change the way that I'm thinking about something? And mind you, a lot of the times this fear that we hear about, people being afraid of something, it tends to come from, shall we say, just very manipulated information. Information that is true to some degree, but has been heavily altered and manipulated to make you more afraid of something when the actual real answer to it is much less severe than you actually think that it is. So, there you go, babies. And for anyone just now joining, this rat just turned 10 the other day, so wish him a happy birthday. Happy birthday to me, boys and ladies. There you go. Wish his birthday. I'm doing well. I had a podcast guest spot coming up this evening. Always staying busy. That is amazing, Ryan. Fear equals power in the minds of many. You're absolutely right. When someone else can put you into a state of fear, they have power and control over you. Why would you let someone else control you? I wouldn't. So whenever there's someone promoting some sort of fear, like I should be afraid of something, I'm going to think, okay, hold on now. I'm going to say, what is the reason for this? I'm going to logically try to explain it because I want to know the reasons behind it. Like, why? Why does someone want me to be afraid? What is their motive? That is the skeptical mind that I have. I'm always skeptical first. If someone wants me to do something, if someone wants me to believe something, I'm like, why do you want me to believe that? What is going on here? Is there something going on? That is my mindset, like always. Always. So, yes. Okay. Continuing on now. Okay. Accidents happen according to the theory of probability. You're absolutely right. See, Heathen says, I can no longer feel safe in this country with the orange nugget. Ooh, I like to eat orange nuggets with my feet. Boy, settle down. Planning on moving to Mexico, and hopefully I can get citizenship there. Well, that sounds wonderful. Certainly keep us updated if you move to Mexico, and I really hope that that it is wonderful for you. I really do. You should do whatever you feel is the right thing for you. If you feel as though that is the right move forward for you, and you would be a lot happier, go for it. Go for what makes you happy. I mean, it could be a brand new change for you. Starting your life again in a much more, perhaps even positive direction. I know you ever been here for quite a while, Heathen, and I think you have Heathen. I think you've certainly made a lot of improvements to your overall well-being over the years. So just always be mindful of that, and just be thankful for how far you've come and changed. So, yes. Ah, okay. Would love to hear your would love to hear would love to hear you uncensored. Ah, yes. Yeah. Well, YouTube may not necessarily allow that. I mean, we do stream to other platforms as well. We are streaming to another a platform that YouTube may not allow me to mention. Not that we really get any viewership on there, to be completely honest with you. Like, I've been doing it for several months, and we've occasionally had a few people, but it's not often. It's not often. I don't know. But I guess if I was exclusive on there, perhaps maybe. And yes, it does rhyme with that, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. Yeah, yep. Got a multi-stream. Multi-stream for anyone who is watching multiple stuff. Okay. Let's say political leaders in a plane crash. It does make you think, and why they wouldn't take separate flights. Yeah. Yeah, that, and also I'm sure I've heard about, doctors, various doctors being on the same plane, you know? Oh, you just said doctor. Man, shush. We know where that would lead if we continue along that path of doctors and boosts and everything. We cannot allow it. That is off limits for this topic. Oh man. See, I completely change my voice. I could sit here and have a conversation with that darn doctor, and people could be just tuning in and be like, what is this person doing? This person's absolutely insane. To having conversations in different voices with themselves about weird stuff. It's like, yes. Yes. Absolutely. Ah. Okay. Is that skepticism or cautiousness? I guess it's a bit of both. When people are trying to make you afraid of something, you have to be skeptical and cautious. It's a little bit of both. A little bit of both. I'm always skeptical without just blindly believing stuff. You know? I have made a video, what was it? I guess like over a week ago or so on my other channel, and I mentioned it's like, no, I'm not gonna fall for any sort of lies. I'm someone who doesn't fall for any sort of lies. So I can always see right through the lies. I can always I can always have various feelings about something before the truth ends up coming out. It's like I am always skeptical of various things. So that's just always something that's on my mind, because I can see the details that people cannot. Most people cannot see the details like I can. So I guess that's just an ability that I have, to be able to see stuff differently than a lot of other people. It is what it is. When I wanted to fight my fear, I went to the edge of the top of the rooftop and climbed over the wall to get to the edge to feel the height and take selfies. Okay. Interesting. Okay, so if you had a fear of heights, what you're saying, or are you just being able to overcome the obstacle? That's also like a very good metaphor as well. Being able to overcome the obstacle that is making you afraid and fearful. When one moves out, one moves in. I'd love to move to America. Okay. So you're not in America, Star Helix. I gotcha. Not sure what country you are in, but yeah. Very, very interesting. Let's see. Wonder if I can stalk you. I want to stalk. Nope, there is no stock info available right now. Maybe later. uh, uh. Well, maybe I just already know. Yep, I know exactly what you're about to say. uh, let's see. Taking selfies from the rooftop edge and sometimes with feet hanging loose. Oh gosh. That sounds a bit too risky for me personally. That does not sound like something that I would want to do or risk. Yeah. Okay. I used to be terrified of bats, but I didn't go around confronting that fear. I'd probably become Batman. Yeah. Hmm. And if you ever fear rats and you hang around this rat too much, you may become Ratman. Mm-hmm. Did you? Look how cute. Mm-hmm. Oh, he's so cute. Super cute. So, when it comes to fear and things in the world that are a bit crazy, the crazy thing to realize, and here's something that I think has been shocking for me multiple times. I think depending on what sort of things you've experienced in your life, or what sort of things that you know in your own life, I think there's much darker things than we could possibly ever imagine that happen in this world. They really are. If we really think about it, the things that we know to be true about, heinous crimes and acts that are done that we think are very, very, very bad, just horrible. Why would anyone do that? Well, the unfortunate truth is there are things in the world that far exceed that. Things that are so horrendous that if you were to even think about it, if you were to even contemplate it, you would traumatize yourself just thinking about it. Just knowing about all the heinous things that happened. So because of that, if we know those things, if we're aware of those things, that is a very difficult thing to overcome, that sort of fear, because then when we have that fear of all those things happening, it's like, oh my gosh, all this stuff's happening in the world. It's like, yeah, you're absolutely right, it is. But we cannot have fear over it. And that's a very challenging thing. Because how can we learn to manage that fear? Hmm. Even in a more lighter tone, if we think about scare tactics, fear mongering of just all sorts of stuff, it's like the world is going to end. If we think along of it of that line, it's like, oh my gosh, everything's going to end, and it's like all those tactics that are used to make us afraid of something ending. What can we do to rationalize those fears? Hmm. Okay. Let's see, I miss my naive self from 20 years ago when I was less cynical, but I would rather know the evils of the world in order to be protected from it. Yeah. You know, I think a lot of people, especially when they're very young, they don't really know just how evil some people are in the world. You know? And it's as I said, even for most people right now, you could be thinking like if I say imagine, like who are some of like the most evil people? We may think of people who are serial killers or child predators and all that sort of stuff. But imagine it goes far deeper than that. Imagine like that's that's like that's like speeding compared to that in itself is comparable to speeding, breaking the law, as to some of the other heinous stuff that happens in the world when we really think about it. When we really think about all the crazy stuff that could possibly be happening. Not that we would even know about everything, but perhaps we know some sort of, something that seems very heinous and horrible, you know? So even with all that, we have to be able to rationalize it and just not live in that state of fear, because that sort of fear can be very traumatizing to us. Just either experiencing it, if you've experienced that sort of abuse before or trauma in your life, or you have heard other people talking about their experiences with it, or you have, as I said, been either a victim of it, or you have even witnessed it. You've actually seen acts that are done, and just horrible, horrible things. Those tend to be worse when we really think about it, because what we hear about crimes being committed, that's like dulled down. If we actually experience it, if we actually live through it, if we actually hear other people's details of it, or we actually see it for ourselves, or something much worse, we can live in a state of fear, and it can be very, very scary. So how do we end up rationalizing any sort of fear? Not just fear with those traumatic things that end up happening, but that is where we can start. When it comes to fears that we have that could be controlling us in our life, the thing that I always like to remember is this one very basic, simple thing. Fear attracts what you are fearful of. So if you are afraid of something and you are so terrified to death, the type of actions that you take will be so out of character for you. They will not be founded in any sort of logic or reason. They will often be filled with so much emotion that you are not thinking logically, you're not thinking straight, you're not cognitively there. You're not making a mature decision. Those actions that you take are going to cause the very thing that you are afraid of. It's going to happen if you continue to live in that state of fear. When you're trying to avoid something, when you're trying so desperately hard to avoid something from happening, it will happen to you. And then your worst fear will come to light and you will not know what to do. If instead you begin to change that mindset to be a bit more positive about it, to not live in that state of fear, things are going to be much, much better for you. But it's not about being positive to the point of it being you being dismissive of it. You don't want to be dismissive. And what do I mean by that? I mean, specifically, if you are afraid of something and you're just going to just block it out and say, happy thoughts, positive thoughts, it's not real, it's not going to happen, that is basically you trying to suppress that fear instead of you actually addressing it and thinking something more positive. So that as well will attract the thing that you fear, because you still have fear, you're just trying to hide it. You're just trying to cover it up and just trying to hide it. So that is being dismissive of your fear. That is suppressing what your fears are. And if anything, that's probably even worse. That's probably even worse than actively thinking about the fear, because it's things that are subconscious within your mind, you attract as well. You know? It's interesting. Here's like another good example that I really think about. So again, I just always go back to like 2020 when you had all the people, like terrified to death of Corona, They had like 5 masks on, even in their car. They would wipe down everything they got at the grocery store. They kept their distance. All that fear, terrified to death. And what ended up happening? They ended up getting the thing that they were fearful of. Terrified to death, and they got it. It's because the actions that they took made the problem worse. I'm not going to talk about the details as to how that could be. I don't know if YouTube would like that, but that makes the problem worse. A very good example. That's actually a good example. If you're washing your hands constantly, if you're using hand sanitizer constantly, that kills the beneficial bacteria on your hands that you need in order to actually fight off germs. So everything that you touch, if you're constantly using hand sanitizer and washing your hands, I'd like to compare it to the gut bacteria in your body. If you're taking antibiotics and you're killing off all the bacteria in your gut and you have nothing in there, you're not going to be a healthy person. you're not going to be a healthy person because you're killing off the beneficial bacteria that you're meant to have to break down food that you consume. And it's the same thing that applies to everything all over your body. There's going to be germs all over the place. So people who are very germophobic and they're afraid of touching something like, oh, that is dirty. I have to wash my hands and use hand sanitizer after every little thing. You're only making yourself more sick. You're trying to avoid getting sick or getting germs around you. But because you're doing that, you're actually attracting all of the bad germs right to you to get sick. See? That is a very good example of what I mean. You have fear of something. You have fear of getting sick and those germs being all around you. So you take ridiculous precautions of sanitizing everything, cleaning yourself. And as a result, you make the problem worse because you're killing off all the good stuff that's here to protect you, which means that leaves you vulnerable to all the bad stuff that's going to come and infect you. And you're going to get more sick than you would if you just let it be. So that is a very good example of people who live in this state of fear, that they do all these irrational things that have no logic behind them to that degree. And then they end up attracting what they are fearful of. Honestly, it's very ironic how that happens. That is why you cannot live in that state of fear. You shouldn't. You shouldn't do it. Let's say, so Sammy says, I feel a cocktail of adrenaline rush. Maybe that's what fear is chemically. Certainly. That makes a lot of sense. If you have some sort of fear, it does give you like a heightened sense of even motivation to try to stop that fear. Yeah, it could be like an adrenaline rush, absolutely. Yeah. So you can use that to your advantage. Could you not? You could. Let's say, are horror nightmares because of fears? I guess if you have nightmares and you're constantly thinking negative things, it could be some sort of unresolved fear or conflict that you have within your mind. Absolutely. People shouting at other people for being outside while that person shouting is also outside. Yeah. Yeah, that's a funny one, isn't it? It's like, oh, hey, boy, why are you outside, boy? Boy, you're also outside, boy. Yes. It can amount to a self-fulfilling prophecy, being overly cautious. Yeah, absolutely. And I've known people like that. It's like, oh, I have to be overly cautious. I can't take any chances. And then, well, what do you know? You were cautious and then it happened to you. It happened to you. It's crazy. It's crazy. So, now I guess when it comes to, let's also take into consideration, let's think about some of the doomsday scenarios. That the world is going to end. Whether it, be, people going to just die. Whatever sort of wars are going to happen. Or climate change, yes. Stuff along those lines, all that sort of stuff. Here's what we have to be mindful of. So, we can live in fear about those things and be terrified to death, or we can just be optimistic that the things that we hear are not necessarily everything that's going to happen, as bad as it is, but still be prepared. I think it's very important to be mindful of these things, but also be prepared. So I always approach it in a way, I am skeptical about anything that I hear and read and see and all that sort of stuff. But I'm also optimistic about it. I can be optimistic about it, but I'm also prepared for the worst case scenario. So if I have an idea about something and you know, all these doomsday things. I'm going to be like, I don't think that what I'm hearing is the full truth. I don't think it's going to be as bad as what it says. But I'm going to take whatever precautions necessary for that action, for that thing that is going to happen, just in case. But I'm going to be skeptical of it. I'm going to be positively optimistic about the situation. So instead of living in fear, what I do is that I have a proper amount of skepticism, that I don't really just believe it outright, but I'm also prepared just in case something happens. So that if something does happen, I can be like, oh, I was wrong about being skeptical about this, but guess what? I am prepared. I have stuff ready just in case something happens. It's called having a backup plan. Or, you know, in the case of any sort of major conflict or anything, you want to have emergency supplies. You want to be able to have things ready when you need to have them ready in case something happens. So I think it's very important to be mindful, be skeptical, and just be prepared. But don't live in fear and have it consume your every waking thought. Every single breath that you breathe in is filled with fear. You know, you don't want that. That does not make any sort of sense whatsoever. And what's the point? What's the point of living a happy life if that is the way that you're going to live it? Does that make sense? If I'm going to live in fear every single day of my life over something that may or may not happen, what is the point of, you know, even just trying to live a healthy, successful life? If I'm just living in fear, that is not the definition to me of a happy, successful individual who's very happy with themselves. That's someone who's like living in fear, and it's like, what is the point? Why? You know, it's like, okay. So that is my take on it. That's my take on it, because it is. It's just interesting. Let's see. I got yelled at for being outside during, oh yes, the corona. Yes, you can say that word, because I am a doctor, yes. Dude demanded to know why I was outside. I told him his mom invited me over. your mom invited me over. Oh my gosh, that is so good. Hmm. Hmm. Let's see. What does it mean when you see your body under the train, dressed in white, awakened in fear and gratitude? It was just a bad dream. I don't know. That sounds crazy. I have no idea. No idea. Yeah, that sounds a bit scary. If a train's coming and everything. Yeah, who knows? Who knows? Yeah. Folks, surprise time. Okay. Loxy, great to have you as a member. Devoured Eagle, great to have you as a member. We haven't seen Devoured Eagle in one long hot minute, haven't we? It's been a long time. Bilgin, congratulations. Cameo with the heart afterwards, congratulations on the gift membership. And lastly, I don't know why you're last when you were first in the chat here. Ryan, I think it skipped you. Ryan, Risa doesn't like you. It skipped you. Oh no, Ryan. Well, congratulations to Orion as well. You got gifted a membership that did not show. There's right, boy. It's because I came over to your house last night and I sniffed your stinky fat feet and they were not stinky enough, so no, I'm not gonna show your name on screen, okay? That's right. You heard him. You heard them. Hmm. Let's see. Bad dreams teach you to be grateful. Yeah, you can do that. What's Rooster's biggest nightmare? Yeah, cheese shortage is one, as well as feet shortage. Feet shortage? Ah, yeah, we cannot have feet shortage around here. No feet shortages. Oh my gosh. That's funny. Cheese shortage. Oh my gosh. Okay. So let's see what the theme of the week is going to be. Let's see what our weekly card is to focus on, or a theme that is happening. Let's see. Rooster, would you like to do the honors? Okay. There you go. It's balanced on the other Rooster's head. Whoa! Whoa! This one must be very important. If it went crazy like that, it just like flew out of my hands. This is the King of Cups. Let's see what the King of Cups means to determine how important this actually is. Maybe this will be the mega theme, or maybe this is going to be something that's very important. Let's see. King of Cups, please. Let's see what we have here. Kindness, willingness, and enjoyment. Maybe this is going to be a very exciting, happy week ahead. Maybe you're going to do a kind gesture, or someone is going to have a kind gesture given to you. You're going to do something. You're going to have a fun, enjoyable time this week. This week's going to be amazing for you, maybe. Let's take it like that. Something amazing is going to happen to you this year, or you're going to help someone else have an amazing week. Not year, week. You can have an amazing year as well. You know? We're already two months into the year. It's crazy to think about, but it is what it is. Let me finish up my tea. Rooster's adorable, isn't he? Isn't he so cute? Hmm? People's outcomes only please poop. Did someone say poop? Did someone say a poop? Okay. Funny stuff. Funny stuff. So, to end this off, when it comes to fear, the thing to remember, realize what some of your fears are and learn to not let them control you. Where are your fears coming from? What sort of information are you listening to and consuming that's making you live in a state of fear? Rationalize those, think about those, and get rid of those negative sources of information from your life. Once you do that, then you can begin to rationalize your fears in a way that you're able to be skeptical of the things that are happening. Be prepared, but also be positively optimistic about the situation. Because whatever we hear on social media, on the news, online, wherever it is, it's usually exaggerated to a very strong degree. So we have to tone it down a little bit and put some rational sense into our mind to make us realize it's not going to be as bad as we think that it is. Everything that we hear is not going to be as bad. Rooster's twin. Yep, they're twins. Except one has whiskers, the other one doesn't, as you can see. No cats. No cats. No cats at all. Unless you think about this cat. Remember that cat? The think outside the box cat? Or what about this cat right there? Remember those cats? Yeah, they are scared of cats, so we don't allow cats onto the stream. Cats are forbidden. Cats are forbidden. Forbidden. And with that, folks, I have just finished my tea. So I want to thank you all so very much for tuning in. Congratulations to all of you who got a gift membership. You will get 1 month of a free membership, early access to new videos before they are released to anyone else. Rather, anyone publicly. So, let's see. Coiled Draco. I have been a watcher of your channel for so long, I am quiet, but I appreciate you. I'm an introverted person. Same. But I enjoy being me. Currently, I am just having a trouble with boomers and Gen Z. Ah, okay. Interesting. Well, boomers and Gen Z, two extreme, two extreme age ranges there. But yeah, thank you so very much for watching and tuning in for as long as you have. I appreciate that, and thank you so much to everyone else who joined the stream today. I will be live again next Sunday, so I want you to have a great week and next weekend ahead, and I look forward to seeing you again next Sunday. So take care, have a great one. Catch you later. Bye.